Hello everyone, welcome to the video class on NMR instrumentation and interpretation. Now in this video I am going to explain about the brief principle of NMR. I have already made a video on NMR principle, please go through it. And then after I will explain instrumentation, the effects of shielding and deshielding, what do you mean by chemical shift, what is coupling is, and some key points required for interpretation of NMR spectra. This is my YouTube channel. If you like the video content, do subscribe. Let's get into the topic. So when you see the brief principle of nuclear magnetic resonance, this technique involves with nucleus. Unlike UV visible and IR, in UV visible and IR, electronic transitions are observed. Whereas in NMR, nuclear transition is occurred, hence it is called, it has got the name nuclear. Now, some nucleus, it is not everyone, certain nucleus have spin. So they will be spinning with a particular axis. Nucleus has got a charge, a proton is there and a neutron is there. So the charged nucleus, when it is spinning, it creates magnetic moment. See, in this video I am going to explain about proton NMR. So all the references when I talk about nucleus, think about it is a proton or hydrogen one. See, the reason why we call it as proton NMR is when you see the hydrogen nucleus, it has got only one proton. So that is why hydrogen nucleus is considered as a proton. No neutron is there. So the proton will be spinning with a particular axis, and the axis will be in different directions. Look at this, it will be spinning with all different kinds of directions. When an external field is applied, when external magnetic field is applied, these protons will be aligned in two orientations. Again, the quantum physics says that the proton has got two different orientations are there. One is known as plus half and the one is known as minus half. The plus half will be the orientation will be according to this external field. See, majority of nucleus will orient according to this external field because it has got low energy. Low energy means more stable one. Whereas the other orientation is of different thing. The other orientation is against the field. See, the external field is in this direction. So all this nucleus will be oriented in this direction, but the other one is in the opposite direction. It has got high energy. So when you provide enough energy, then only this transition occurs. Now what happens is, see this, when you apply external magnetic field, nucleus will be aligned with applied magnetic field because it is of lower energy. So when you provide certain amount of energy in the form of radiation, what happens is nucleus aligned against the applied magnetic field, it is of higher energy level. That is the reason why it needs external energy radiation in the form of electromagnetic radiation. Now, moving further, see, again putting it in simple words, B naught is external magnetic field applied. When external magnetic field is applied, the nucleus, the proton, will be aligning in this external field direction. This is what happens. And this orbit is known as precessional orbit, and the frequency, the rotations per minute is known as precessional frequency. So it will be rotating with 60 million hertz. Remember, when you apply external field of 14,000, it will be having frequency of 60 million hertz. When the radio frequency of 60 million hertz is given, when the frequency match is there, then resonance occurs, and during this resonance the radiation will be absorbed and the nucleus flips. This is what is meant by NMR. Nucleus under the influence of external magnetic field will absorb radio frequency of resonance frequency and nuclear transition occurs. So this is the basic principle. Moving to the next one. Now coming to the topic, instrumentation. Now when you see the instrumentation, the sample is placed here and it is exposed to a radio frequency as well as magnetic field. Now for practical reasons, all the instruments will be working on a principle known as field sweep. Field sweep means you will be changing external magnetic field. Magnetic field is increased. The radio frequency is kept constant. So what happens is, whatever the radio frequency is absorbed, it is detected and it comes out as a spectrum. So you can see here the magnetic field sweep is here. So from low to high the magnetic field is given. Radio frequency is kept constant, and at some particular magnetic field the nucleus will precess and you will get a signal. So this area under this peak will tell you the information of number of nuclei that have flipped, that have absorbed radiation energy. So this is a very simple form of instrumentation. You need to know what all the parts are there and how the principle works. Moving further, now see, when you see these NMR spectrometers, see the sample is spun round the field. See, the sample is taken and it is revolved. See, it is spinned. The reason why it is spinned is to get a uniform exposure of magnetic field and radio frequency. The sample is spin. Sometimes if the sample density is more, it goes down if you kept as such. When you spin, the uniformity will be there, and that is what that is why it is spinned. Now, so it will be exposed to an electromagnetic and radio frequency. When there is an exact match of frequency, the flipping of nucleus occurs, and that is what is detected in this detector. So this is again the instrumentation in simple means. Now, NMR spectrum is a plot of induced voltage against the sweep of the field. Now, area under peak is proportional to the number of nuclei flipping. This is what I have explained. But the point is, not all hydrogen nuclei absorb energy at the same field strength at a given frequency. The field strength required depends on the environment of the hydrogen. Let us see with an example. Imagine this one is a nucleus. When you apply external field strength of B0, whatever you apply, it reaches to this nucleus. So applied is equivalent to effective field strength. Effective means what is that nucleus getting, that how much amount of field strength is getting by that nucleus. But it is not true all the time. See, the nucleus is surrounded with electrons. So if you apply external field, the external field has to pass through this electron and reach that nucleus or proton. But this external field is blocked by these revolving electrons, because the electrons also has got charge. Because they are revolving, they produce induced magnetic field and they will block this external field. So whatever you apply, that is not felt by the nucleus. So this is what is called as shielding. So this is what happens in real cases. The induced field decreases the strength of magnetic field felt by the nucleus. So how much it is decreased? It is based on the number of electrons revolving around that proton. So every proton has got a different kind of electronic environment. So every proton, every group of protons has got a different electronic environment, and that is what we call it as equivalent protons. Now these equivalent protons will give a signal, and the other non-equivalent protons will give a different signal, and that is the reason why we could get signals like this. You will get different peaks like this. So this is what is the unique principle of NMR. Let us explore it. So see, if shielding is there, what happens? Shielding will reduce net applied field. You apply something, let's say you are applying 1.41 Tesla, but it gets only 1.36 or something like that. It is reduced. Why? Because it is being shielded. When it is shielded, what happens? Nuclear processes at low frequency. If you remember, the external magnetic field is proportional to frequency. If the external magnetic field is increased, the precessional frequency is increased. So if it is being blocked by shielding, what happens? The frequency also reduces. If the frequency of nucleus is reduced, it absorbs at lower radio frequency. Why? It is resonance. Whatever the frequency of this nucleus is there, the radiation with the similar frequency will get absorbed. If this one is reduced, radio frequency also reduces. So this is what happens with shielding. Exploring further, so protons will be in different chemical environment, and they have different electric shields, and they absorb at different resonance frequency. So all the protons will not absorb at same frequency, and this is what tells about the proton nature in an organic sample. Now it is not only shielding, you have de-shielding effects are also there. Now look at this. In case of benzene, the pi electron ring current will be like this, and that will be inducing magnetic field in this direction. But the protons are aligned in this direction. Look at this, what is happening? You are applying external field in this direction, and the induced pi electron field is also in this direction, and protons are in this direction. What happens? It increases the net applied field. This is called as de-shielding. That means you apply 1.41, it will be saying it as 1.45 or something like that. Why? Because this induced currents are increasing this thing. See, it is going in this direction, you are applying in this direction. In alkenes also the same thing. See, the protons are aligned here, so the current, induced current of electrons will be like this. You are applying external field like this, so it increases the net applied field. This is called as de-shielding. So shielding, de-shielding, both the effects will be there, because of which you get different kinds of signals. Now, again, one more important thing. See, the difference in resonance frequency is very small. For example, let's say you are running the instrument at this magnetic field 1.41 Tesla, and radio frequency is 60 million hertz. So this is what at this you are running your instrument. Now when you see chloromethane and fluoromethane. See, both of them has got different set of these protons. So this protons will give a signal, this protons will give a signal. But the difference between these two is only 72 hertz. Now imagine this thing, the instrument is running at 60 million hertz. That means if you take this scale, it is like this, and the difference is only 72 hertz. Now here it is million hertz, million is 10 to the power of 6. So where do you get, if you try to plot if you try to get the spectra, the signals will be very close because the scale is on million scale, but you are getting only of 70 hertz, 72 hertz. It is very difficult to measure. So it is very difficult to measure exact resonance frequency because the difference is very small. So to avoid this, what they will do is they will, the frequency difference of a sample is taken with a standard is measured. So they will be putting a standard at 0 or something like that, and this frequency is measured with this standard one. And the standard one used is tetramethylsilane. The reason why standard one tetramethylsilane is taken is, look at this. See, silica Si electronegativity is 1.9, whereas carbon electronegativity is 2.55. So what happens? All these electrons will be pulled towards carbon. Even hydrogen is also having more electronegativity than silica. So what happens? All the electrons will be pulling towards hydrogens. All these electrons will be going towards this one. So what happens? Electronic current around the protons will be increased. When electronic current is increased, what happens? Shielding increases. So technically at that point of time, this tetramethylsilane has got highest amount of shielding effect. If it is highly shielded, it can be taken as a reference and give as a signal as 0. So because of this highest shielding effect, it is taken as a reference one. Not only that, it has got some of the advantages, like it is non-toxic, so it can be used safely. It is inert, it doesn't react with the compound being analyzed. You can put it in sample, it will not react, so signal interference will not be there. And has got low boiling point. What is the advantage of this? You can distill it and reuse it again. Now all hydrogen atoms are chemically equivalent, produces a single peak. It will not have a multiple peaks, it gives only a single peak. Again, the single peak is outside of the range because of highest shielding. It will not interfere with other signals because it will be at left end. That is what is taken as a 0, 1. It will not interfere with remaining signals. Now, see, the chemical shift delta is given as 0. The position of all other signals is measured relative to TMS. Now the other important thing, the molecule contains 4 methyl groups attached to silicon atom in a tetrahedral arrangement. All hydrogen atoms are chemically equivalent. So see, all of them, so 12 hydrogens are there, it will be giving an intense peak at the end. So this is what is the advantage of tetramethylsilane. That is the reason why it is taken as a reference one. Now let us see about chemical shift. What do you mean by chemical shift? See, each proton type is said to be chemically shifted relative to the tetramethylsilane. If you see the signal, imagine if TMS signal is there, you get a kind of proton signal is there. So this difference is known as chemical shift. Now there is a problem with this. See, the chemical shift is the difference between the field strength at which it absorbs and the field strength at which TMS proton absorbs. TMS protons absorbs at this field strength, whereas our protons will absorb at this. So this difference is what is called as chemical shift. Now they have developed a scale called as delta scale. Why this delta scale or ppm is developed? Let us see with this one. See, the instrument can be run at 60 million hertz or at 300 million hertz. It depends upon instrument. But the problem is, if you are running your instrument with 60 million hertz, let's say someone got a signal at this 600 hertz. Now the same sample, if it is run with 300 million hertz, they will get a signal at 3000 hertz. So there will be a confusion because of these different values. To avoid this confusion, they have developed parts per million or delta scale. So the delta scale is given by shift downfield from TMS by spectrophotometer's frequency. That means, see, what is the shift here? It is 600, right? At what frequency the machine is run? At 60. So 600 by 60, how much it is? It is 10. Whereas in this case, what is the shift here? It is 3000. At what frequency the instrument is run? 300. How much you will get? It is 10. Look at this, both of them are same. Even though you are running at different strengths, the signal is same. That is what is this 10 is. So this scale is known as delta scale. See, all of them, it is very simplified. It will be 0 to 10 or 13 or something like that. But irrespective of the external field strength, you will get same values. So that is the reason why the delta scale is developed. Now, the summary, let us get into the summary. When you see this NMR scale summary, see the number of signals is correlated with number of different kinds of protons. The chemical shift will tell you the general environment of the protons. The peak area will tell you number of protons in each environment, and multiplicity, peak multiplicity is given with how many protons are on adjacent atoms. So this is what is the interpretation of NMR is. Now see, in many cases, this information is sufficient to deduce the structure of an organic molecule. See, this is what is important one is. The powerfulness of NMR is most of the time, majority of chemical structures can be confirmed by using NMR spectra. Now, let us get into the interpretation part. You have something called as non-equivalent protons. Like, see this one. This is a simple molecule, CH3, CH2, CH2, CH3. What is this? This is a butane. Now, how many different kinds of protons are there? See, let me write. See, these protons, both of them CH3, CH3 are similar protons, whereas these protons, these protons, the middle one, are similar protons. Because for these 4 protons, the environment is similar, whereas for these 6 protons, the environment is very similar. So how do you see the important thing in NMR spectra is you need to understand, you need to identify chemical equivalent and non-equivalent of protons. Now when you understand how to identify the equivalence and non-equivalence, you can easily tell how many peaks will come and you can correlate with spectrum. In order to do that, there is a technique. The technique is called as replacement of each hydrogen with X. If it gives a different constitutional isomer, they are non-equivalent. Different constitutional isomer, it is non-equivalent. Look at this. See, the blue colored one are one type, whereas the yellow colored one, green colored one are different types. Now, you in this molecule, see, one of the hydrogen is replaced with an X, whereas here this X is replaced. Look at this. Both of them are same molecules? No, they are different constitutional isomers. In this, the X is substituted on carbon 1, whereas here the X is substituted on carbon 3 or something. So they are different, right? Whereas if you substitute this one with X, you will get similar kind of thing because all the 3 are equivalent. So to understand how it is non-equivalent, you need to replace one of the hydrogen with X and check both of them if they are. See, the 2 replacement products are constitutional isomers. If they are 2 different constitutional isomers, they are not equivalent. They will give 2 different signals. Keep this thing in your mind whenever you solve anything. Replace a proton with X and you will get the idea whether they are equivalent or non-equivalent. If both by replacing you get similar kind of constitutional isomer, they are equivalent. If they are not similar, 2 different constitutional isomers, then they are non-equivalent. Now see again, look at this. See, these are similar kind of protons. You will get 1 signal. Tetramethylsilane, only 1 signal. See, for this, 1 signal. Benzene, 1 signal, because all of them are in equal chemical environment. Whereas look at this. See, these protons are different with these 4 protons. So you will get 2 signals. Again, these 2 are similar, whereas these 2 are different. So you will get again 2 signals. So again, for this proton, 1 signal. For this proton, second signal is there. Similarly, see, these protons are of one type, whereas these protons are different type. So I suggest all the students to practice repeatedly with different kind of organic molecules so that you will get command over this. Now, there is a difference. There is something called as resolution one. You can use low resolution and high resolution one. Now, take this molecule. What is this? 1 bromopropanate, 1 carbon. At first carbon you have bromine is there. Now how many different kinds of protons are there? This is attached to bromine. This is different one. This is attached to methylene. This is different one. This is attached to methyl. This is different one. So totally you will get 3 signals. Now what happens is when you use a low resolution NMR, you will get 3 signals like this. See, in this 3 signals, whereas see, 1 peak for each environmentally different group of protons. So this is what happens. You have its reference is there and 3 different peaks you will observe. But when you use a high resolution spectra, it gives complex signals which includes doublet, triplets, quartets, all kind of things. Now look at this, what is happening here. Now I'm sorry, see here it is CH2 also there. Okay, now look at this. See, this 2 indicates these 2 protons and these 2 protons. That is the reason why the peak intensity is similar. Whereas this 3 indicates this one. So look at this, methyl one is more towards shielded one. See, understand this concept. Bromine is electronegative one. So when electronegative one is there, it will be pulling all the electrons away from carbon. So away, if the electronic density is moving away, it will be moving downfield side. It is also called as deshielding one because electrons are moving. Remember only TMS. Tetramethylsilane has got highest electronic environment around protons. So anything which has got highest electronic environment, the signal will come towards TMS, which is also known as upfield. Whereas electrons are moving away, that is downfield or deshielded, the signal comes on this left side. So for this, bromine containing carbon has got these protons, and that will be downfielded because of electronegative bromine. The adjacent protons are this one. The methyl one has got closer to TMS. So this is what happens in low resolution one. But in high resolution one, look what has happened. See, the signals for this, you get a triplet kind of thing. That means 3 small peaks are there. It follows a formula called as n plus 1. Because the adjacent signal has got 2 protons, 2 plus 1, it will get 3 signals. Whereas for this one, the adjacent one is 2, 2 plus 1, you will get 3 peaks are there. Now the middle one has got, so here 2, here 3. So totally 5 are there. So 5 plus 1, 6 peaks will be there. So this is called as spin-spin coupling. So it follows a rule called as it depends upon adjacent peaks. If n peak is there, n plus 1 peaks, you will get it. Elaborating it further, see, this is called as multiplicity. So one neighboring proton is there, you will get 2 peaks, that is doublets, which will be in the ratio of 1:1. If 2 neighboring protons are there, 2 plus 1, 3 peaks in the form of triplet. 3 neighboring protons, 4 peaks in the form of quartet. 4 neighboring protons, 5 peaks in the form of quintet. And the peak ratios will be in this. So there is something called as Pascal triangle also. So to make the thing simplify, just remember n plus 1 formula. Now this is the overall chart. See, you can see what all the compounds you will get signal at upfield and what all the protons will get at downfield. Remember only one thing, at this end you have tetramethylsilane. So if electronic environment is more around the proton, you will get a signal at upfield. If the electrons are taken away by electronegative atoms, you will get a signal at downfield. Look at this carboxylic acid. 2 oxygens are there, all the electrons are pulled away, so this is coming at this end. Similarly aldehydes. Whereas in case of alkanes, there is no electronic movement. Most of them are very much shielded, so you will get the signal near to tetramethylsilane. Little bit elaboration. Look at this. See, only methane 1 ppm. Iodine, what is this? Electron withdrawing group. So what happens? It moves away from TMS. Bromine, even more electron withdrawing, it moves more away. So the moment you keep on increasing electron withdrawing group, you place an electron withdrawing atom, the signal moves away from TMS. So this is a simple principle. The same thing, you increase the number of electronegative atoms, what happens? The signal is moving away and away from TMS. Just keep this thing in mind. So the same thing, see, tetramethylsilane, we get a signal at 0. Now carbon electronegativity is 2.5, right? So what happens? The electrons will be surrounding this proton. Now nitrogen 3, electrons will be moving away, so the signal is moving away from TMS. Oxygen 3.4, further it is moved away. Fluorine 4, so see, it has further moved away. It's all give you an idea about what is the effect of electronegative atom. Now similarly, you have additive effects are there. 1 electron withdrawing group, you will get a signal at here. 2 groups increases, 3 groups even further increases. All these things are just to give you a brief idea about it. Now finally, look at this chart. See this one, the first one, see this chemical shift will give you the information about functional group. If carboxylic acid is there, it will be moving away from TMS. If only methyl groups are there, it will be getting closer to TMS. So how can we tell that? It is based on the chemical shift, whether it is 9, 4, 3, whatever it is. Now the second one. Now what is the second one? Number of protons represented by each signal. So this integration will tell you how many number of protons are there. If 3 are there, the integration increases. If 2 are there, only this thing is there. So this one will give you how many number of protons are there. Now the next one, the number of different types of protons is given by number of signals. How many signals are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 signals means 5 different kinds of protons are there. Finally, spin-spin splitting will give you idea about adjacent. See, the protons are connected to neighboring carbons. How many protons are there? So that will give you signal multiplicity. We have seen this already, and it follows n plus 1 rule. See, I try to simplify as far as possible about NMR spectra. Hope it is useful. If you like the video, do share and subscribe the channel.